Right now on the National Weather Desk, deep freeze. Right now on the National Weather Desk, deep freeze, sub-zero temperatures, and historic wind chills move into the northeast.
We're talking 20 to 40 degrees below zero through parts of northern New England.
Ears, fingertips, face, and toes can freeze in about 30 minutes or less time.
Frustrations mount in the south as hundreds of thousands of people go another day without power following a devastating ice storm.
I'm not sure how long this is going to take.
It's frustrating. It's a waiting game.
We'll show you how the atmospheric rivers impacted California's snowpack.
Yeah, we're cautiously optimistic.
You'll learn about something called hair ice.
Conditions and location need to be just right in order for hair ice to form.
And we'll take you inside a blinding snow squall.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
50 degrees below zero. It's the coldest air in years, and it's heading for portions of the northeast today. Here's a look at Syracuse this morning. It's now 10 degrees, but will feel like 30 below later today. Liz Bateson tells us what Rhode Island is expecting.
We are expecting wind chills to drop into the negatives. We're talking negative 20 to negative 40 degrees by this evening. So shelters are opening up all across the area. This old furniture shop that you see behind me has been transformed into a warming station. It can house up to 133 people.
And to Mount Washington, New Hampshire has some of the worst weather in the world. Today is no different. This morning, the temperature is 23 degrees below zero, but with wind gusts of 99 miles an hour. The wind chill this morning is 73 degrees below zero. For more on how cold it's going to actually get, here's Portland's meteorologist, Charlie Lopresti.
An Arctic cold front is blowing through the northeast this morning, and it is introducing some of the coldest temperatures seen in years. It's not just the air temperatures, but it's the wind. Wind chill values could be some of the coldest in decades. So let's talk temperatures first here. There's the front working its way offshore. Expect a lot of sun. That's the good news. The wind in the northeast today will gust around 30 to 35 miles per hour. Some areas are dipping below zero. That's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, overnight lows in northern New England will dip to 10 to 20 below tonight into Saturday morning. It won't be quite as cold in southern New England, but notice temperatures slowly climbing into the single numbers as we go through our Saturday. Now, factor in the wind. This is how it feels in your skin. This is how you need to dress. This is 7 o'clock Friday evening. Wind chill values generally about 15 below in southern New England, southern parts of New York. We're talking 20 to 40 degrees below zero through parts of northern New England. It's not a great day to ski on Saturday. That's actually 7 o'clock in the morning. These temperatures will be climbing through the single numbers, and wind chills will improve late in the day on Saturday, and some melting is on the way on Sunday.
And you know, there's no easy way to get ready for that kind of cold, but there are steps people can take before the frigid air arrives. Johnny Maffey has the details.
When it comes to weather like we're going to experience over the next few days, it goes from being uncomfortable to a dangerous situation.
AAA's Pat Moody says with temperatures forecasted well below zero, you should make sure your battery's in tip-top shape.
Dropping to below 30 and to about 0 degrees, you lose about 60% of that battery's starting power. And at the same time, the engine needs about 2 times as much power to turn it over than it would at a higher temperature.
One way to try to keep it from failing, get outside and run your vehicle Saturday at least once for around 15 minutes.
If you leave it throughout the weekend, you're raising that risk of coming out to your vehicle on Monday morning and it just not being able to do the job to get the car started.
Meanwhile, inside your house, open up your cabinets and turn your heat up if you haven't already.
Don't turn down your temperature at night. When you turn that temperature down at night, the heat system won't cycle for a while. And during that down period, the heat lines can actually freeze.
And many people will use a space heater to stay warm, but those devices can be dangerous when they're not used correctly. Molly Levine shows us how to use one safely.
It's supposed to be clear of non-combustibles 3 feet around it.
Put the heater somewhere safe, away from couches, curtains, kids, rugs, pets.
Plug it into a wall socket. Don't plug it into a house extension cord that runs about across your room into another plug.
And always keep an eye on your space heater because if used incorrectly, this could happen. A faulty space heater was to blame for this New Bedford fire that forced out 10 people in October.
And of course, it's not just the cold temperatures, but the bone-rattling wind chills that will really make it miserable out there. Meteorologist Craig Adams is in Albany this morning with a look at wind chill and also frostbite.
When wind accompanies cold temperatures, it means our bodies become susceptible to losing heat at a much quicker pace compared to if there was no wind at all. Thus, the wind chill effect makes our skin prone to freezing faster. The stronger the winds, the faster the heat is taken away from our bodies, leaving exposed areas set up for frostbite or even worse, hypothermia. Most typically, your ears, fingertips, face, and toes can freeze in about 30 minutes or less time. The cold air that's heading our way will become solidly in place by early Friday morning, with the core of the coldness over us Friday night and into Saturday morning.
Here are the key takeaways regarding wind chill values and how fast frostbite can occur. When the wind chill is down to minus 19, it can happen in 30 minutes. Wind chills at minus 32 lead to frostbite in 10 minutes. And wind chills at minus 48 means frostbite can happen as quickly as 5 minutes.
Now, for some reason, if you have to be out in the cold during those bitter conditions, you might want to consider getting a couple of these super warmer packs. Simply activate them, put them in your pockets, and you've got some extra heat flowing into your body.
And those work. An intense snow squall ushered in the bitter cold in Syracuse yesterday. Here's what it looked like outside of our New York station last night. The edge of the parking lot is barely visible. Dangerous wind chills and lake effect snow are in their forecast through tomorrow afternoon. And now to that ice storm that devastated portions of the South. 250,000 customers in Texas right now are still without power this morning. The problem really especially bad in the state capital. Now we have 2 reports from Austin, starting with Michael Atkinson on the growing frustrations.
Austin officials say they're playing catch up with a storm they didn't anticipate.
We are experiencing one of the most widespread ice storms to hit Austin, and certainly one of the worst.
The outages are all localized, not a grid problem, with 2 culprits: ice weighing down power lines and trees snapping in half and knocking into power lines. Officials now say it won't be until Friday night that citywide power is restored. Electrical workers with boots on the ground say that might not even be the case.
I would not say that. We still, like I said, we still have so many circuits to walk down today, and, you know, as it gets in the night, then it also limits what the crews can do.
You could just hear crack, 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 smash, crack, 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 smash. I woke up at 3 o'clock and it was still continuing. So it was all night long, and if you stay here long enough, you will hear it. That's exactly what you hear.
Looking at Tom Masserol's front yard, would consider him lucky. But once he guided us to his backyard overlooking a park filled with foliage and hundreds of trees, it was a different story.
Lots of damage. It will take months to get this cleaned up.
You really think so?
Oh, yeah. With the amount of damage that's been done, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's midsummer before all the dead trees are gone.
Still, with icy debris blanketing the streets, on top of some cars, and even without power, people are making the most of this situation.
Similar story in Arkansas, where nearly 60,000 customers are still in the dark. Most of the biggest problems are in South Arkansas. Ice-covered trees like this one fell on power lines, cars, and buildings. It's not clear how long it will take for all the power to be restored.
The schedule was to be here in about 4 hours. That was their the goal, was to be here within 4 hours. And recently I was told, if you look up your account online, it's saying that it would be restored Saturday. So I'm not sure how long this is going to take.
The storm also took a toll along the Mississippi River. This is Highway 61, just south of Memphis. Ice covering trees across the entire region. There is some good news. Most airlines appear to be back to normal this morning. There are just a handful of cancellations at DFW Airport today. One thing that won't be back to normal today or even tomorrow is skiing in the Northeast. The brutal cold temperatures and even colder wind chills is forcing several ski areas to stay closed. Chairlifts will be spinning on many other slopes, but operations will be severely limited, with just a few operating on each mountain. But wind chills of 40 below or colder is likely only a hardy will actually be out there. Hardy few, that is. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, California SNOWPACK is doing a lot better. How recent severe weather is helping them bounce back from an intense drought. You know what hair is, you know what ice is, but what about hair ice? Stick around, we'll tell you more.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. Arctic cold is invading this morning. The temperatures, they're going to be falling all day long. Some areas in northern New England will be below zero at about 3 o'clock. Most areas in the Northeast will be in the single numbers in teens. Wind chills will be colder. As we go into Saturday, it's a slow climb into the single digits as we go throughout the afternoon. Check out these wind chills. They're dipping well below zero. Friday, that's 7 p.m. That extends into Saturday morning. Stay warm.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region, starting off with lots of temperatures in the 20s to around 30 during the morning on our Friday. As we head into the afternoon, temperatures go nowhere fast as some of the coldest air in months heads on into the region, and that's going to be in the wake of our latest weather maker. You see this cold front off the coast. That's Arctic in nature, so frigid air with us for Friday into Saturday before a warm-up late in the weekend. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vetus Reed, looking at cool temperatures up in Nashville for the day today. Behind that system, we'll continue to see the cool air funneling in. Also looking at some rain showers pushing up into the Carolinas along that front. Front's going to continue to stretch down into parts of Florida where it's been warm, but those temperatures are going to get much colder behind that system as that rain continues to move in. It looks like we'll get some showers, maybe some thunderstorms, but then we clear out by the late day on Friday and overnight. Parts of the weekend we'll have some sun and clouds for the southeast. Florida will have a few showers.
Now let's check to see the weather in cities across the country today, and let's start here In Austin, Texas, mostly sunny. Today's high will be 52 and then 70 degrees by Sunday. Hopefully that helps crews get the power back on. Now, this is Lake George, New York, about an hour north of Albany. Today's high will be only 9 degrees. But tonight the mercury falls to 12 below zero with wind chills of 30 to 50 below. Now over to Mackinac City in northern Michigan. They've already reached today's high of 9 degrees. It's falling to 2 below zero tonight. And we'll end in beautiful Niagara Falls, where it's mostly cloudy today. They're expecting some snow showers paired with bitter cold. They're under a wind chill advisory until tomorrow, but today's high will reach 10 degrees. California's series of devastating atmospheric rivers is long gone, but the effects will linger for quite some time. A northern California county is now asking for state and federal help to try to repair all that infrastructure. Anwar Stetson has details.
The county has had state agents and FEMA come up and assess the damages from the storms. That includes erosion, damaged roads, and damages in more rural parts of the county. Director of Emergency Services Amy Travis said a lot of damage came from burn scar areas in western Glenn County from the August complex fire, and that total cost will be around $6.5 million.
One right after another, it never let up as far as the rainfall, and so the ground became very oversaturated and the creeks were flowing at such high rates that we saw a lot of erosion on those creek banks and then also along bridgeways. And so that's what's really severely damaged, and it will take quite a big effort and a lot of money to make those repairs.
These storms were about 5 times as damaging as the last major events in 2019 and 2017. The current assessment has already taken place, and officials will be determining if the county will get state and federal resources to fix the damages.
California's snowpack is finally growing after several years of drought. Heather Waldman explores how last month's severe weather played a role.
Here at Phillips Station, I'm currently standing on 85.5 inches of snow. That's 193% of average for this date, and statewide, the snow picture is looking even better. Water managers with the Department of Water Resources say this is exactly what California needs to break away from several years of drought.
Over the past month, 9 storms combined to double the statewide snowpack. Today, snow water content is at 128% of the April 1st average. That's the date when water managers anticipate the greatest amount of water in the snow in a given year.
Yeah, we're cautiously optimistic, knowing how much snow we actually have here today.
But today's snowpack is already more than double what the state had last year. Dr. Andrew Schwartz with the Central Sierra Snow Lab says we can expect this year to finish in good shape, even without more big storms.
If we don't get much more snow and our temperatures stay relatively low, we should be able to finish at or above average because of the wonderful snowpack that we already have.
But of course, more is always better.
Do we need more? Absolutely. We dug a big hole over the last 3 years with not that much snow and rain, so every little drop counts at this point.
And folks impacted by other disasters in California continue the long trek to a new normal. A man in the town of Paradise decided to rebuild his home with wildfire resilient features after losing his house in the 2018 Camp Fire. Like many others, Gary Ledbetter has focused on incorporating new features to prevent the loss of another home to fire.
We lost everything. The house, all the outbuildings, all the contents. So I had to go through a learning process, and discover building science. Building science for efficiency, fire science for fire hardening, and figure out how to combine the two.
Ledbetter teamed up with the Institute of Business and Home Safety, which runs the Wildfire Prepared Home program. It's for town residents who want to better protect their property against wildfires. January was a very active month for tornadoes. The Storm Prediction Center says the U.S. had triple the average number of tornadoes in the month. There were, get this, 168 preliminary reports of tornadoes in January. The average, though, is just 50. While 16 different states had tornadoes last month, most of them touched down in the southern states, and 70 of them all happened on the same day. We're talking January 12th. All of the reports have not been surveyed yet, so experts say they may still see a slightly lower number of confirmed tornadoes. winter got off to an unusually warm start in some parts of Wisconsin. Now it's finally really starting to feel like Wisconsin in the winter, and folks at a local winter park are taking advantage of this improving situation. They've been ramping up their snowmaking all week. Eric Peterson has that story.
This is a very challenging part of the state to make snow in. We're really close to Lake Michigan. We're in a valley, so we're normally warmer than normal, and we don't get quite as cool nights as up north gets. And then the rain and the warm weather turns everything to ice.
Kewaunee County Parks caretaker Michael Rosinski says snowmaking on the ski hill at Winter Park is about 3 weeks behind schedule. He says this week's deep freeze is a game changer.
Got this weather and we're going to get it going, so better late than never.
We're making snow right now, so we still have to groom all the snow out, get all the lifts ready, but we'll update by the end of the week where we're at. And I'm hoping if we couldn't get it open this weekend, by next weekend, we should be ready to go.
Myers says Winter Park's Tube Hill is running business as usual and is very popular.
I think we're around close to 6,000 roughly on the Tube Hill so far this year, so that's kind of in pace for a really good year.
As long as it stays cold.
The sky was open, not too much wind to contend with, low relative humidity, that's really important. Temperature is part of it, but you want a dry atmosphere that makes that snow, that water turn into snow really fast.
And here's something for your super cool weather files. If you don't know about hair ice, you're about to learn with this explanation from meteorologist Kristen Clark.
Hikers in Washington state recently stumbled upon a rare ice formation known as hair ice. Seeing thin strands of ice resembling silk or cotton candy poking out from wet, dead wood in the Pacific Northwest forest is unique and eye-catching. Conditions and location need to be just right in order for hair ice to form, hence the scarcity of sightings. Hair ice forms in rotting wood when the air is moist and below freezing, and it's generally found between 45 and 55 degrees north latitude, making the Pacific Northwest a prime spot for hair ice. More recently, in 2015, scientists determined that a certain fungus needed to be present in the wood in order for hair ice to form. On cold nights, ice first forms on the surface of the wood, trapping a thin layer of liquid between the ice and the pores of the wood. As new ice forms, it pushes the older ice upward, creating long, hair-like strands of ice. The fungus prevents the thin hairs from clumping together, allowing hair ice to keep its beautiful shape for several hours.
And as we go to break, let's fly over Flag Rock in southwestern Virginia.
Well, happy Friday, everyone. I'm meteorologist Phil Kelly, and the story really for today, this blast of Arctic air most of us are getting. Single-digit highs, Minneapolis, Green Bay, and Milwaukee. That cold air continues through Michigan and the Ohio Valley, so bundle up today. We do warm up, though, as we get into the weekend. Things get much nicer. Look, we're 52 on Saturday in Kansas City, low 50s in St. Louis. That warm air will slowly start to shift to the east.
Well, a good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Our forecast today across the region, it is a much needed calmer day. Cold in the morning, and then it's sunny and warmer for the afternoon. Still below normal with the temperatures, but we're now talking about 40s, 50s, even some low 60s is starting to show up on the map. We get a cold start Saturday morning. Another system moving through, but this one here is much weaker, so just some scattered clouds. And there you see those high temperatures Saturday. First part of the weekend, 50s and 60s.
Well, hi there and good Friday morning to everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Punxsutawney Phil prognosticated 6 more weeks of winter yesterday on Groundhog Day. And right on cue, some wintry weather returning to parts of the West Coast, especially to the Cascades and the Sierra Nevada. Low 40s today in Boise, 74. Boy, that's spring-like out of Phoenix. But this next weather maker, a big storm bringing rain and gusty winds to Seattle and Portland. And that's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Southwestern Virginia is where this gorgeous shot was taken. Train cars filled with coal as snow coats the landscape and the coal. In the Pacific Northwest, small and smooth lenticular clouds hang over the Cascade Mountains. And in central Illinois, a viewer captured this near-perfect moon halo caused by the refraction of moonlight through ice crystals in the atmosphere.
Well, you are likely familiar with watches and warnings for thunderstorms, tornadoes, and even flash floods. But here's one that doesn't happen as often. It's related to frigid weather. Meteorologist Christina Ernie has more.
Have you ever heard of a heavy freezing sea spray warning? Well, we have that in southern New England as we head into these dangerously cold temperatures. At the immediate coastline, what we can see is ocean spray freezing on contact with moving vessels, but even at our coastal communities, we could see some ice accumulations. This is from a combination of cold air temperatures, cold ocean temperatures, and winds, bringing up that ocean spray with gusty winds, with those gale warnings, freezing on contact. So it's dangerous to be out on boats or even close to the coastline.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Next time, we'll talk with the first African-American director of NOAA's National Severe Storms Laboratory. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here on Monday.